All right, Big Bang, it's the rundown. It is Wednesday. It is March 1st. It's myself. It's Large. It's Spider. The Rubbin' is Racing Boys. This rundown is brought to you by the Barstool Sportsbook. Barstool exclusives, picks and parlays from Big Cat, El Prez, and other personalities to follow or fade is on the Barstool Sportsbook. There's tons of ways to bet. They have daily odds boost. There's live in-game bets. You can move the line and there's teasers. They have the Parlay Plus option to bet within same games or across sports. It's easy to navigate and use, and the data and content is there to keep you informed. It's easy to secure and register, and there's more ways to deposit and withdraw with the Barstool Sportsbook. So download today. Use code RED to create an account, and you get $1,000 new player bonus. If your first bet loses, you get up to $1,000 in bonus cash. Must be 21 plus. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. Lars, how are you today?
I'm good, man. How are you, Eddie? Nice to see you.
Good to see you. Spider, How are you?
Rundown debut. Pumped to be here. Thanks so much for
This your first one?
Yeah, well, as a host, I've made a couple appearances, picking up the mic and walking in and so yeah, it feels good to be here. Thank you so much to everyone who got me to this position.
Eddie, I got a question for you. Is my mic working? Yeah, right?
I'm good, yeah.
All right. So if you had to guess, how many times do you think I've hosted the rundown? Spider, this is one for you. Eddie, how many have you done? 300?
I'm pretty consistent on Wednesdays now. They're like last year, they're like, hey, why don't we just have the Chicago guys do it on Wednesday? So
right.
Well, how about yourself?
This is 4. I believe
really?
Or it might be 3.
I think hot on your tail, Large.
Yeah, coming for that shit, Spider. But yeah.
So first topic here, it's reported that Jeff Bezos is interested in buying the Seattle Seahawks after it sounds like Dan Snyder just will not sell him the Commanders. So Spider, what do you got on this? You lead us off.
So I was reading this article before. I was thinking, like, what if we arranged a group of people to buy the team right now and then immediately flip it to Jeff Bezos. Now, I'm sure Roger Goodell would probably have some issues with that. That's probably not allowed, but there's got to be a way to make money on this. And also, Dan Snyder, he's pretty much being forced to sell the team from what I understand. Is that correct? I haven't been following the story too closely, but so
I believe so. Yeah, he's selling, but he hates Bezos, so he doesn't want to sell to it. Allegedly, that's what I read. So
I don't know. It seems like Amazon is like someone brought up Washington Post, and that's his ties to Washington. But when I think of Jeff Bezos, I think of Seattle. I think of him building the monopoly that is Amazon out in the Pacific Northwest. So I think it's a perfect fit. And yeah, the Seahawks, I don't know. They lost Pete Carroll. They're beefing. So it seems like they need some sense of direction. And Jeff Bezos, say what you want, but he knows how to run a damn business. So
yeah, he certainly does. Large, what do you got?
I'm always a fan, I guess, of the rich getting richer to a degree. Like when Stevie Cohen had bought the Mets. I've mentioned this before. I used to trade with Stevie, and I don't like him. Like, I don't think he's a good guy. He was never good to me. Always like a real fucking thief. But I thought it'd be very good for the organization. I kind of feel the same way about Bezos. Like, I think, if nothing else, the guy's a winner, right? So having him as the top of your organization for a guy like Snyder to not want to get that done for whatever reason just seems kind of myopic and stupid. If I was a franchise guy, the first place that I would go would be a guy like Jeff Bezos, because I think I can get the most money out of that son of a bitch too. I think it's cool that Spider's head, he wants to create some sort of arbitrage where we buy a fucking NFL team, we flip it out to Jeff Bezos or something else. He's playing chess with this one. But yeah, cut and dry. It doesn't matter to me either way which team that he owns, but I'd be excited to sell any team that I own to him.
How much of this do you think is Dan Snyder just being like scared of the fact that if Jeff Bezos takes over the Commanders and they become like a force overnight, like let's say next year they're like a relevant threat in the playoffs, and he's just going to get exposed as like a shit owner? Do you think that's more it, or do you think it's more that he actually has lasting beef with Bezos himself?
No, I think it's lasting beef 100%. But Large, like you said, these rich guys, they got so much money. Like money's it's not a thing. The highest bidder. When you have beef like that, it's very personal, and you will stop at nothing to even get the slightest edge over another rich guy, right? You worked around a lot of rich guys.
Yeah, and I've seen a lot of guys pass me by too, as far as in terms of being wealthy. And I know that that can sometimes, sting some people. But, from a public relations standpoint, don't you think this guy should do something as noble as bury the hatchet with another multi-billionaire and, do something which might be for the good of, DC for once? But like, I think for that, we're looking at legacy. So I liken it to Dolan. Like, a guy who owns the Knicks, and there's such a pettiness involved with that guy. Like at towards the end of these guys' regimes, whether it's forced or not, I would think that maybe they'd want to sort of cement themselves to have some sort of legacy. Because even the opposite of Spider's point, that he outperforms when he gets the Redskins, is certainly maybe a concern. And you're saying the beef and all that stuff. What happens if he outperforms at the fucking Seahawks? You know what I mean? Like, it just seems like he's then he becomes the number one pick that you didn't go with. So I don't know. It just seems like a double-edged sword, and he's setting himself up for failure.
Yeah, but most of these guys don't give a shit about the team, I feel, either. And it's just another notch in the belt. It's another thing like, oh, I own Amazon and the Seahawks.
But I mean, don't you see Bezos as one of those guys? Like, I was just talking to somebody about Clark Hunt, right? So Lamar Hunt, his dad, had started the Chiefs, and Clark kind of gets up there and gets the trophy, and then like Lamar's father, so Clark's grandfather, like people know the story. Like that guy was like a Texas wildcatter who bought his first oil rig with the proceeds from a poker game. Like I think and I know that's a different story. That's like a family ownership and stuff like that. But I think now more than ever, owners have the opportunity to take some real, particularly with teams that are doing well, some real responsibility and some real spotlight. And I can see a guy like Bezos showing up to a lot of games and being a little bit more present than you would see from somebody in the Rooney family, like some old school entrenched NFL money, or the Maras. So, I definitely think that he would be less of an adjunct owner and more of a hands-on type guy. Not probably on the day-to-day, but certainly doing what Stevie Cohen is doing and opening up the checkbook.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see if it happens, because like it says, he's just interested.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't say if they're for sale. I know last year the Denver Broncos sold for 4.65, and then the Suns just sold for $4 billion, and the Bucks sold for 3.5. And I know obviously NBA, NFL, but I don't know if that raises the price to the other ones, because that's wild price tags. So I'd be interested in what he pays if he actually could get a shot at buying the Seahawks. So we'll see. Next topic here: the Dallas Mavericks lost last night to the Pacers, 124-122. The Mavs are now 1-4 with Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving. Lars, I take it you're not totally locked in on the Dallas Mavericks right now, and on the 1st of March. But do you have anything on this?
Well, I've been in line with everybody else, just because being a Brooklyn guy, and by the way, Spider, big Nets fan too, right? I mean, which people know.
Well,
what's that?
Casually.
Okay. I mean, I grew up as a Knicks fan, but, just as a guy from the outside looking in, I've always noticed how big of a cancer Kyrie Irving has, even though he's got, just about endless talent. So this is of no surprise to me. It's a shame that if he brings down another organization, and I know it's way too early, like 5 games into it, it takes a little bit more to like develop chemistry. But I think there's, it's just a sign of things to come. I think wherever this guy goes, he's probably going to be a failure. And if he sees any kind of continued underperformance, he's going to use it as an excuse to sort of back away from playing, hit the bench or say another thing about the earth being flat.
Spider?
I kind of want to retract what I said earlier about Bezos just being a billionaire and a great owner based on that, logic. You look at a guy like Mark Cuban, and I don't really agree with what has happened recently in the Dallas Mavericks organization. You had a guy, Jalen Brunson, a point guard who now balls out across the street from where I'm sitting here for the New York Knicks. And, you trade for Kyrie Irving, as Large said, someone as removed from basketball world as Large even is aware of how problematic a player like Kyrie Irving is on your roster. So for him to think it was a good move to let Brunson walk and then also trade assets for Kyrie, who's had a history of being a problematic player. As of right now, it's easy for me, and I'm comfortably can say it doesn't look like a good move. Obviously, context being I'm a Nets fan, and they lost, I think, 4 games with Luka and Kyrie both on the floor together. So, yeah, it just seems like the same old Kyrie that Nets fans were familiar with, that same energy he brought to Dallas. So I don't like it. I don't like it. As a Nets fan, I kind of like where we're at, though, kind of turning the page off with the diva stars, and let's kind of build with some role players. We got McCall, we got all the boys up. So I feel good about where the Nets are at, and finally some draft picks. So yeah, let's keep building.
Oh, we're gonna say something large?
No, I just remember because I was here when they announced the Kyrie trade, and you were jumping up and down about it, Spider. Like it's crazy how you go from having a generational talent become an absolute, albatross to any type of team.
Well, I
And
look
just
at
on the fact that is where his head's at.
Luka's like a generational talent. Like he's the
Mhm.
kind of guy I don't want to see be interrupted or like altered in any way. I want the raw Luka Doncic experience, and I feel like that's what we were getting. Now we got the Kyrie sideshow going on. So I don't know. I just don't want that to limit or take away from Luka.
Yeah, I mean Kyrie Irving, we're talking that last title run there, the one that he had with the Cavs. Like he was right around that area. He was right around the top 10 player in the NBA. Like the dude's an unbelievable talent. I saw him. I think a bigger story than this 1-4 thing was I saw a quote today. I forget where I saw it, but he still expects to get a full max contract this offseason. So like if you're a team that's going to pay Kyrie Irving $250 million, you should, as a fan base, you should walk in and recreate the Rudy scene and just lay your fandom on the table, because I couldn't imagine my team paying this guy. Could you imagine that? I mean, you just went through it, Spider.
Yeah, no, I'm glad he's off the books, but I don't know what happened with Kyrie. You said he used to be like one of the undisputed best players, like plug and play, any team would be better. Maybe that was just because he was playing with LeBron. I don't know. I'm watching that final series, and like LeBron and Kyrie, I was like, damn, these guys are unbelievable. Then something happened. So I think maybe if he can get back to like playing with LeBron, that would be something. I think that is kind of his end goal eventually. So I think he might take less to play there. Although I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I know like the salary situations or how much cap space that these teams have. But yeah, it always seems like Kyrie's always focused on the next move, not the team he currently plays for.
Yeah, we'll see, man. It's crazy. Also, I did have one more note on Bezos, but that was the last topic I know. But I don't think people need more reasons to be mad at Bezos. I think if he does buy the Seahawks, they'll get a lot of hate from different fans, people that don't necessarily enjoy football, people that are mad that they didn't get their 2-day item shipped, and they're going to be mad about Geno Smith throwing interceptions. So a lot of things to consider here if Jeff Bezos wants to get in the NFL game. I don't know. Next topic here: an alligator was found in the New York City sewer. So I guess there's just gators hanging around the sewers. They brought it to the Bronx Zoo to kind of put it in a better habitat. Spider, what do you got on this?
This shit sounds crazy. This sounds like something like I don't know. I've seen the like a lot of stuff where there's people have exotic pets and then they release them into the wild and somehow they survive or they breed and they like the population grows. Never ever would I consider like someone having an alligator in New York. So like I don't know, that's hard for me to imagine. That's got to be what it came from, right? This isn't a fucking wild alligator.
No, I no. It said it was chilly and it looked like it was not adapting well to this habitat, obviously to the climate. It was 5 foot long, and they found it in Prospect Park Lake. So I don't know if you guys know anything about that, Lars, but
Yeah. So that's right in the heart of Brooklyn. So Central Park is the big one in New York City. Prospect Park's the big one in Brooklyn, where I'm from. Eddie, it's just another sign of the apocalypse, right? It just seems like we're popping up with people fucking walking around like zombies. I know maybe we'll talk about Lightfoot in a little while and how you think Chicago's doing. As a guy who used to take the subway into Manhattan every day when I was in high school from what was that, 85 through 89. and it was an absolute piece of shit. Subways run down. Dinkins was mayor. The whole fucking deal. It's just as bad now. Like there are people selling, like obviously the weed culture is what it is, and smelling weed. I'm a big drinker, and also I enjoy some 3Chi every now and again. There was like a table out there selling coke the other day. It's like one of those things where this fucking city is going right to the bottom of the abyss. So the fact that there's alligators in Prospect Park is just yet another sign of the apocalypse. Like, where do you feel Chicago is right now, Ed, as opposed to where it was at? And I'll ask you this too, Spider, because Connecticut kid who's been in the city for a long time. Where do you see our two respective cities since you've been there, as far as the peak and the valley?
I mean, the peak or the worst part was obviously like during COVID for sure, but I think it's honestly been pretty consistent recovery since then. Like slowly more places coming back, slowly more people off the street. But I don't know, is that what you're getting at? I don't know.
No, I don't know. I just find that everything's worse. So like the fact that there are fucking alligators floating around, and obviously this is a one-off, and to your point, there's probably some weirdo who kept this thing as a pet. Yeah, it just nothing surprises me anymore whenever I read articles about, big cities like New York and Chicago.
It's hard for me, Large, because I really do try to separate things that I read and other people's opinions versus my opinion. I try to actually think and go throughout my days and realize was this different? Is it really that much worse? Is it better in some ways? But I think we're so poisoned by what we read too that it's impossible to be objective about it anymore.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you in some respect that you can't get a straight answer from any kind of news thing. But the other story that should have happened, not that they found this alligator, would be infant child playing near the lake in Prospect Park, because it happened down at Disney.
Yeah,
that was one of those things that got swept. Remember that happened in the lagoon?
I don't even think they got swept, Large. That was a big deal. That was on Good Morning America, Today. That's fucking tragic, that story.
Right. The kid got pulled into the lagoon and then they didn't find him right away. And so that's the type of story that I would almost expect. That's a headline that would get me, for lack of a better term, a little bit more excited. This one is just like, there's some sort of, freaky guy. I ate alligator. Where the fuck was I? Oh, we're down in Florida, Spider. So I was down in Florida for, so I know that there's farm raised gator everywhere. I ate a bunch of it while we were down there for the Daytona 500. So, yeah, it's just another story to throw in a pile.
Yeah, no, I think because there was always I think it was a myth. It was an urban legend that
they were in the toilets.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that's what Billy Football wrote the blog, and that was his angle. I know there's actually a great story. There was a guy had a lion or a tiger, excuse me, that lived in Harlem. It was called King of Harlem, and he had an alligator in there too. If you want to look it up, I'm a guy who's fascinated by certain Wikipedia pages. Look up Ming of Harlem.
Ming of Harlem.
Yes.
All right. As soon as we're off here, I'm going for that.
Look it up. There's an awesome picture of a New York police officer hanging down, he's going down.
I know it. Yeah, out the window.
Yes, dude. And you see this fucking tiger. And it's just, as long as we live, there's going to be weirdos who want these exotic animals in places where they shouldn't be. So.
And when you mention this, we're going down a bad road, Eddie, because I could go toe to toe with this. If you're looking that up, look up Ming the clam. Did you ever hear of this fucking thing? It's 507 years old. I just did something that, we get all around the place. And the term, it's a dog. I haven't seen you in a dog's age. Originally it was, I haven't seen you in a coon's age, meaning raccoon, but they had to change it obviously for reasons, so it became a dog's age. And I got angry because dogs, raccoons, they don't live that long. And I brought up Ming the clam. I think it was a 507-year-old clam before some scientists wound up so Ming the tiger and Ming the clam. Just a little bit of I don't know.
Check it out today. We're just
animal facts. Boys. Yeah, why don't we?
Rabbit hole, boys.
Yeah.
Last topic here, TikTok. This report says from the New York Post that they will implement a 1-hour screen time limit for people under 18. Large, you have kids, so it's only natural you leave this off.
Yeah, so we do. Annie stays on top of this. My wife stays on top of this with our kids. So when they were very young, we used to get reports every day of what they would search for on browsers. And I had to have a couple of conversations with my sons in particular, telling them that their dead grandparents and Santa saw everything that they ever typed into a computer. Right? You have to get on that right away. So in the same way, it's unbelievable how we've moved the goalposts with our with what we would do with their restrictions for screen time. Like we're still a family. As soon as we sit down to dinner, Eddie, when we try to sit, my oldest son is away at college. So when the core four sit down to dinner now, right away, the phones go in the middle, right? Like that's something that we don't ever want anyone looking at a fucking phone while we're sitting down to dinner. But we also, are fully aware that from a social perspective, I probably can't limit my daughter to only an hour of TikTok a day. Like I'm willing to admit that. And I don't care what the Chinese are getting off of her. She's got no secrets or anything like that. But this seems like it's a little bit because if she's making videos like with her friends, honestly, and we don't use it as a babysitter necessarily. It's almost a play date when they come over. They'll be on there for 3 or 4 hours just making videos and being on TikTok like 3 or 4 hours. So if they're going to try and limit this to and if I try to make a fucking video with the green screen thing that Jack Mac does, and I know I'm old and stupid, but it takes me an hour just to be like, hey, this is Ming the clam. It lived 507 years. And here's Ming the tiger. It's Eddie's best friend. Like it just doesn't, it seems like it's a little bit too strict.
Spider?
Yeah, I agree. I think I'm not really well versed in TikTok. It's one app I kind of don't really stay in tuned in, but it seems like everything I hear about it is problematic. Like people trying to ban the app now, they're trying to limit how much time you can spend on it. But I do agree with Large. Like from my experience, when every time I've helped someone else make a TikTok or been in someone else's, it's not like the 4-second video you watch on TikTok. It's like a whole fucking production. So like it could take easily an hour to record just one. However, I think it's on the parents. I don't think there should be any restriction on the app itself or by like government. Like leave that to the parents to police your kids. If you think that they should be on there, do it. Obviously, Large has good principles. I like the no phones on the dinner table policy. I wish more parents would do that, but I think it's on the parents.
I got to be honest with you. Now, the more that I think about it, like, and this seems hypocritical or maybe even sexist, since my daughter does the shit where she does the special dances and all that kind of stuff. Again, she's a 12-year-old girl, whereas I think the boys, being older, I have a 15 and an 18-year-old. I don't know if I want them, if it's healthy for them to be just on pure browsing, just looking at, virtual colonoscopies for fuck, which you kind of look now to see like, the shading of an asshole outside of a thong. Like, I don't know if they need more than an hour. I mean, I do. I can use an hour and a half of that a night. But so, perhaps that's it. My whole fucking timeline is French bulldogs, cooking videos, and girls with big tits. So I'm wondering, my kids don't own dogs and they don't cook. So I'm wondering if they're an hour and a half just absolute tits. And I don't think that's overly healthy either. So I might have to rethink this, Eddie. Different from kid to kid. And I think that's what Spider's saying. Like I'm parenting it,
But here's what I think, Large. So listen, everybody brings up great points so far. It's odd. It's actually odd timing because last week we did a law for President's Day. We did a laws we'd make draft, and this was a law I'd make. I'd make a social media time limit altogether. I said like 2 hours, so a little bit more because 2 hours is good. But I think there's a difference between mindless scrolling and creating something like your daughter and her friends like to do. Like maybe there's an app where like you could do all that, but like, hey, if you're past your browser or post time, you got to post it tomorrow or something. I don't know. There could be a happy medium because I mean, dude, just scrolling garbage. I don't know.
But do you ever get caught? I mean, sometimes I can't sleep and I'll get up and I'll put on TikTok, and the next thing I know, I went from 1 o'clock to 4 o'clock in the morning.
So listen to this. Actually, so last summer or something, I had a conversation with Erica, and she's like, how are you on TikTok? I was like, Erica, I don't have TikTok. She's like, what? How do you not have TikTok? And you work at Barstool? I was like, I'll be honest, I don't trust myself. I know how I am. I'll be scrolling that shit. I'm going to lose productivity and like other shit. And like, I feel like that's more useful for my time than scrolling TikTok and just knowing how I am. I'm going to fall into that hole. And she's like, you know what? I actually accept that answer. It was
Really?
pretty,
I do
yes,
respect that.
Yeah.
yeah.
It's
It was
good that
pretty
you don't have,
crazy.
it's good
Yeah.
you don't have TikTok because a lot of the stuff I do, I do impersonating you. I do. I don't know why the fuck we were talking about the Mavericks to start, to be quite honest with you. Like I do like, hey everybody, I got this new grilled cheese. Carl, hand me the mayonnaise. Like I just do you the whole fucking time. So it's better that you're not on that, I guess.
I appreciate. However, I have since downloaded TikTok because
Uh-huh.
now it's a little peek behind the curtain. That's like everything with Barstool now. It's making those green screen videos, like you said, Large.
Yep.
And but I've done a great job of only using it to create my shit, and then I'll post it and then I'll log off. I don't scroll at all, which like
Um,
knock on wood, I'm happy about.
let's talk about big cities, Eddie, because I know we went past the thing where I was trying to get you guys to shit on your respective cities.
Yeah,
I want to get out there and spend some time with you in Chicago. You know that. And we've been
correct.
talking about it for the past 3 years now. This is the
Mhm.
longest drought I've been without being, because I went to school right by there. I've taken my kids there. Well, every one of my kids went there for their 10th birthday, except this past one. My other two boys I took to Chicago for their 10th birthday. I don't know why. It's a good place for me. I haven't been out there in a long time. Big news last night with the Lori Lightfoot thing. Do you
Yeah.
think all of a sudden I'm going to start going out to Chicago just to kind of celebrate what was going on? Do you see like it's going to, because now Spider and I are there in July for the NASCAR race, the road race, which I'm getting your ass there, right?
Yeah,
We get
sure.
Chief, we get Carl, the whole deal. Do you think that things are going to improve? Like I need that shit to be tight by the time we get out there, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Well, here's the thing. I think the demise of like Chicago is greatly exaggerated. Like, don't get me wrong, it's different. And like New York and like other big cities, like COVID did hit it.
Mhm.
And not just in ways like with businesses, but with just like kind of the feel of like neighborhoods that used to be different, I guess.
Mhm.
You know, it's just the vibe and whatnot. It's and listen, Lori Lightfoot, she like much like, you would say other political figures, she was polarizing and divisive. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like she like made people mad constantly, and there was always a problem. There was always people pissed off. So yeah, that's anytime people could unify, like that's good, right? However, with this runoff, I think people need to do a lot of their research because it's two very different candidates. I'll just put it that way without getting too political on Barstool.
Mhm.
But
Break
people
it
need to do the
down for
research.
us, Ed.
What do you say? So actually I've had both of them on. If I
Yeah,
could
I know.
count,
You just had Lori, right?
I had Lori on, but I had two people in the runoff as well. I've had them on my podcast too. So whoever wins, I've had the mayor on, whatever. So go listen to the episode I did with Brandon Johnson. Go listen to the one I did with Paul Vallis. I'll probably have them on again before the April 4th runoff, but I can't give you that for sure because if it goes a certain way, it might be a very similar trajectory, or I don't know how to put it best, but people definitely need to go do the research and go vote. That's all I'll say.
Is there a third option potentially? I know Barstool personalities that interview political potential candidates don't really have a history of going on to win.
No, it's a 2-horse race now because what they do is in the runoff, it can only come down to 2 people. So
there you go. I guess you'll break the trend with a guaranteed interview with the winner of the next Chicago mayor.
How do you think? How do you think
Sorry,
Chicago's going to be set up then for this whole thing in July? Like, how do you
it's
see
going to be
that going down?
interesting because I know that was I believe that was a big initiative for her, and she was kind of what made it happen. And a lot of people were unhappy about it. I'm excited about it. You guys are NASCAR guys. I think it's going to be cool. I think it's going to be a lot of fun, but we'll see, man. It's a good thing that she's out though. I just want to be clear. A lot of people were coming at me like, "Oh, what the fuck?" This I'm like, "Hey, I'm talking to everybody. You can't cry about certain people not getting interviewed if you don't talk. I talk to everyone, so that's all there's.
So after speaking with both the candidates that are going to the runoff, do you, without saying obviously, do you have your mind made up one way or the other on who you feel confident voting in? I know you said you need to do some more research, but
I do.
All right. Well, there you go.
Yes. But yeah, I don't know. This is the hot seat for the.
It is a hot seat. I turned it into
question.
One. Go,
Eddie. If let's say you were elected Chicago mayor, what's the first thing you're doing? Where do you start?
The first thing I'm doing is that we have this sick lighthouse that has been defunct. And actually, our article was written about this a couple days ago. And this is kind of it's a bullshit answer because there's actually real shit that needs to be done. We got this sick lighthouse that's been like defunct forever. And I've always said I'd love to have a party there. So I'd rehabilitate that. We'd have, when you guys come out, we would have a nice party on the lighthouse pier. So,
And then we'll work on the murder rates and stuff like that after.
yes, exactly. We'll get to that. We'll
we'll blow it out at the fucking lighthouse. I like it, my man.
We'll get to that. We'll get to that. But yeah, anything else, fellas?
We got we're doing Rubbin is Racing. So we're both feet into NASCAR, doing 38 episodes of that thing. So it's we're leaving Fontana, going into Vegas this weekend. Spider and I drop our episode tomorrow. And then Rough and Rowdy. I think I'm reffing 2 fights this week. Spider and I are heading down to West Virginia tomorrow also. So Rough and Rowdy 20. And we're actually in a Rough and Rowdy meeting. So this is Rough and Rowdy 20. The next one is Rough and Rowdy 21. I think we're going to call it Rough and Rowdy 21, Barely Legal. Whoa.
Damn.
That's fucking not bad, right? Freshly shaved and barely legal. So, and it's going to be a good one. It's a pretty good card. No Barstool people are fighting, but a bunch of return champions and the Abel brothers and a bunch of stuff like that. So it's a good
large. Which fight are you most looking forward to on that card?
There's a dude, I think the Appalachian Assassin is fighting the American Redneck, 2 big boys, and they're going to be throwing hands. So, I mean, a lot of people I love the fact that the Abel brothers consistently fight against very tough competition. One of them is fighting up against this guy Diamond Hands, the old hockey player, and that's going to turn into a fucking hate crime. So I think it's one of those things where you gotta tune in. It's going to be a good time.
Yeah, a lot to look forward to upcoming. We got Rough and Rowdy this Friday by rnr.com. Also, Large and I, Rubbin is Racing with Kyle Busch coming soon. He just won at Auto Club. I gave you the 10-1, the plus 375 on Barstool Sportsbook. We'll be back this weekend, or tomorrow rather, with Kyle Busch and more winners. Keep it locked. And buy Rough and Rowdy as well. We got a great weekend.
Yeah. I love it, guys. The NASCAR coverage has been great. I had the privilege of going to 2 races with you guys last year, Daytona and the Miami one. And I returned. I watched the whole Daytona 500 this year.
Hell yeah.
And I had some money on it. I took your guys' exclusives. It's a good time. So if you're not on the NASCAR train, like, it's not too late. Hop on. It's a good time.
Yeah, we'll see you for the street race in Chicago, Ed.
Yep.
We're smoking some cigars, Ed. Fucking throwing them back, right?
Maybe.
That's fucking
dope. And then I got, if we're in the business of plugs here, I got a guy named the Skunk Master coming on Dog Walk tomorrow. Go check.
Let's go.
Is he an exterminator?
No, he just handles skunks if your dog gets sprayed.
I can't wait to listen.
Really? That's his whole business model?
It's his whole business. He's called the Skunk Master. He just helps dogs that get sprayed, or if a skunk sprays in someone's house. That's all he does.
Incredible. That's awesome.
All he does. Crazy.
All right, Eddie, it's a pleasure, man. Thanks for having us on.
Thanks for having me,
thank
Eddie.
you, Spider Large. Thanks for hopping in. Thanks, everybody, for watching the rundown. There will be another episode tomorrow. Tune into that. See you guys next time.